Hello and welcome back to another Josh and Eliza in the live stream.
On Friday.
We're here to answer all of your questions about accent learning that perhaps you've always been curious to ask, but been nervous to. This is a safe space. And so send us your thoughts and your questions in the chat. And we'll be sure to address them in future videos. But today we are speaking about the differences that can occur when you are hearing native speakers from the States and Canada versus the UK.
One of my favorite topics of discussion.
Tell us, Josh, why is it your favorite? Why is it one of your favorites?
Well, I've always been like an accent and language nerd. And early on, it was Maggie Smith and Patricia Rutledge that got me, those two actors specifically, that got me like into listening for accent differences. Maggie Smith specifically in The Secret Garden, which I watched as a child in the 90s with my grandparents. And then I just, went from there, and now we find ourselves here today talking about accent differences because I just followed that train for the last 3 decades.
Absolutely. What a glorious train.
Yeah, what a glorious train. What about you, Eliza? Why do you enjoy this comparison or this topic?
Well, I think that there are lots of examples throughout history that let us observe the way that a shared language, or perhaps a shared accent of a language even, splits and evolves. And perhaps the sort of barrier of the Atlantic Ocean that sprung up between English speakers who came to colonize the United States and Canada versus those that stayed in Europe is a very, it's a very easy to track. You're like, that's when that happened. This is how it grew. But, if I'm being totally honest, of course it comes from wonderful storytelling that happens in film and television and theater that I experienced in my life from these two sort of accent bases, and getting to compare them has always been one of my great fun time activities.
Yes.
So shall we just jump right in? When we were first discussing this, you mentioned probably the most obvious shift, the biggest change that happens. So let's call that out right away.
Yeah, it is. I'm going to use a term, rhoticity, or in KTS land, rhoticity chicken, which is an inside joke in Knight Thompson speech work land, or I've heard other speech workers use it too, because it's a kind of perhaps obvious and fun joke. So rhoticity chicken, if you don't understand, my apologies. Rhoticity as a speech term refers to that thing that some speakers do to some vowels, where we make some vowels sound like R. It's another way to language it is post-vocalic R, so R that happens right after a vowel sound and is like made with or on the vowel. The UK does have some rhotic speakers, if we're talking about the United Kingdom as like the whole country, right? If we like narrow it into like a small corner and we like zone in on London, a lot of London speakers are non-rhotic, and so they don't have post-vocalic R. So in a word, like my very last name, I have 3 last names, and my the last one of those is Moser, M-O-S-E-R. So that's a post-vocalic R. Moser, But if I were to switch into a non-rhotic sort of London sound, it might be Moser,
And that sort of quality of R, right, that kind of comes and goes, that also happens in the United States. So we do have some non-rhotic speakers in the United States.
We do indeed. Some of my favorite American accents. Yeah.
True. But for the most part, as we continue to sort of like, we lay out the generals, the broadest categories of accent, you will probably hear rhoticity in accents from the States and Canada, and a lack of rhoticity in accents from the UK.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some of the smaller details you might notice if you're sort of comparing these two accents might be in the pronunciation of vowels. So there is, while it's a shared language, there's going to be some sort of reliable shifts in vowels.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not talking about just realization, sort of accent realization. We're talking about when linguists sort of group words together. When the words are grouped in the UK, they're in certain groups, and then you come over to the US and some of those words just abandon that group and they jump over to another group. Mm-hmm. So one of the most famous examples of that is that there's a large group of words in the UK that get pronounced with an open ah sound, like bath, mm-hmm. and past and ask.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you come over to the States and Canada, those words jump, they abandon that ah group and they instead belong to an ah group. So they become bath, mm-hmm. and past, mm-hmm. and ask.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And do you have a favorite example of this switch?
A favorite one, you ask? A favorite one? A favorite one, you ask? Well, so one that we could mention is the word can't, like I can't do that. I can do that, I can't do that. Mm-hmm. In US English, those have the same vowel. And those are, as you just heard, ah. I can, I can't. But when we hop over the Atlantic, it becomes I can and I can't. And so that second one becomes like a bath word, which is interesting.
Yes, I've always found that really delightful.
Yes, because the affirmative like also takes up less time. It's like, oh yeah, I can do that. Yes, but then the negation is like, oh no, I can't. Sorry. And it takes a little more space, and it's like, it makes me want to wrinkle my nose a little bit, like, oh no, I can't. Yeah. I don't know why, it's like a whole, I don't know.
Agreed. Yeah. There's just more there. There's just more. Yeah. Lovely. Yes, that is my favorite as well. The can and the can't.
And the can't, yes.
Well, there are also, pretty specific cases of pronunciation shift. Mm-hmm. And that's due to the accents just developing separately to a certain degree. So one of my favorite examples of that is the difference in process in the UK with an O diphthong, mm-hmm. And an identical spelling in the States that changes to process and process. And this is a fairly common word. This is a word that could come into synchronization, could come into harmony in the future, just with globalization and people listening to each other and abandoning one pronunciation in favor of another. We don't know what it will be, but for right now, both are correct, and you'll hear them both because the word is fairly common. Mm-hmm. For me, this difference, like in the word process and process, is just a really good reminder that even when I think I know, it is possible that there is more than one correct answer.
Mhm.
So for anyone learning English, exposing themselves to native speakers from multiple places, you can allow those multiple correct answers to exist, and then just pick one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pick the one you like.
The one you like. If you're using the BoldVoice app, though, you will
You will need the American one. Yes.
Yeah.
If you're using the AI, you will want to stick with one consistent accent. Yeah. So that is a good example of vowel sound shift in a word that's spelled the same. Sometimes, though, syllable emphasis will shift, and so here's two of my favorites. Eliza, and I'll pose it to you as a question. So, Eliza, would you like to go to a cafe and then go see the ballet, right? Or, Eliza, would you like to go to the cafe and then go see a ballet, right? So in US English, we hit the second syllable in both of those words, cafe, ballet. They're longer in terms of the time they take up. And I tend to shift my pitch on those as well. But when we head over the Atlantic, we switch to the first syllable and it becomes cafe and ballet, which I find delightful. I don't know why.
So the joy and delight that you see on our faces, at least for me, has to do with the fact that we learn language very much from a should and shouldn't. Or at least I did. That's how language was taught to me. This is right and this is wrong. And so even when we're presented with a second correct option, even if it's correct for other people, there is a silly little part of our brains that goes, surely not. That's not it. That's so crazy.
Yeah.
But it is, it's correct.
Yeah.
It's very serious.
It's 100% correct. I think another part of it for me is the it comes back to like the story time, or like the like being able to play pretend, and even like the knowledge that someone else lives this way and it's correct for them, and so I can pretend that it's correct for me too, even though like inside I'm giggling because I've been, as you stated, trained that language exists in a certain way and certain things are correct and certain things aren't. So like being able to like abandon that rightness and wrongness and like go into like, this is right for me for this moment, and I'm going to the cafe and then the ballet with my friend Eliza, is just delightful.
Absolutely.
Another one is, would you like to park your car in the garage? In the garage.
It's so fun. It's just
delicious.
A little break from your reality and a little vacation in somebody else's reality.
Somebody else's. Even something as simple as saying the alphabet. The 8th letter of the alphabet and the very final letter of the alphabet stick out to me. Eliza, what are those?
Absolutely. Okay, so if you learned your letters in the United States, those are pronounced H and Z.
Are they?
They are, but
Okay.
if you learned your letters in the UK, those are pronounced H and Z.
Yes, they are. And then we can take that ZZ thing and extrapolate it out to the stripy horse-like animal, which is in the States
a zebra.
But in other places, a
zebra.
Yes! It's amazing. It's amazing.
Oh, I mean, you knew those. How did you know? Those were my most favorite whimsical things. Excellent. So yeah. So you have observed that there are serious jumps, not perhaps unintelligible jumps. So there's a sort of a logic there you could follow, but as you're learning and watching and listening to keep yourself open to these multiple correct versions, and then just decide based on your audience what pronunciation you would like to go with. Yeah. Thank you for joining us for another delightful YouTube video.
Absolutely delightful.
Any parting words, Josh?
Cheerio. Ta-ta for now. See you next time.
Thank you all. Send us your thoughts and comments, and we'll be sure to include them in the next video. But for now, take care. Keep practicing.
Bye.